fine. I was getting into that.
So, sorry, it's shorter now, so you don't have as much time to get into it.
Oh
Hey,
man.
Justin.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
Feeling lovely. Yeah, it's 40-mile-an-hour winds outside, kind of cold, but picture I've got behind me is keeping me reminded of the warmer months to come.
My
It's bright
goodness.
and sunny here today, so I hear you guys all got all the bad weather over in the east right now.
We
Yeah,
do.
We'll get
yeah.
it later this week again. So, news today. Let's see. Anything happen this week, Justin?
Well, let's say my life is changing. EV adoption is changing for the better because, well, at least for me, maybe not for you, Justice, as a Tesla owner, but I drive an Ioniq 5, and those of us who drive non-Tesla EVs are, I would say, I'll speak for all of us, we're thrilled that Tesla Superchargers are starting to open up to all EVs. How is this possible? Well, Tesla wanted to tap into $7.5 billion of federal money that is available to public charging network providers that are accessible to all. So they can't just be a walled garden anymore if they want to tap into the golden pot of money. And through the invention of the so-called magic dock that they're installing at the Tesla Supercharger locations, guys like me with CCS EVs are able to charge at superchargers where installed. And so far, there's about 12 locations in New York and California. But by the end of 2024, 3,500 supercharging stalls should be accessible to guys like me. So I am thrilled. How do you feel about this, Justice?
Well, I am less thrilled about it. I it's great for EV adoption. So on that part of it, I'm I'm happy. Watching the Tesla Investor Day, I'm happy to hear that there will be in V4s longer cables.
Mm-hmm.
Because my concern A is that some with some slow charging vehicles are going to be taking up spaces, and when I go to Tesla already, there's often full. Yesterday when I went for my weekly charge, uh, I took the only available spot out of 20 that were there. I took the only available spot, so of course we're all sharing. It was a V2 charger, so 150 kilowatt. We're sharing, and so it was a lot slower than it was already supposed to be. And those were already all Teslas. So if you had opened that up to everybody, then I go, okay, I wouldn't have had any place to go. And as I had shared with Ray, Tesla does this wonderful thing where if a charging station is very full, the actually charge per kilowatt hour goes up. Whereas if it's less full or empty, the charge per kilowatt hours goes down. So I always look at, I pull up the map in my car and it tells me all the charging stations around me and what cost it is. So literally I've had anywhere from 18 cents a kilowatt hour to 42 cents a kilowatt hour, depending on which station I go to. So I tend to go to the one, the 18 cent, because I don't mind driving a little bit farther and, saving the money. Fine. So how much of that gets changed when everybody's taking their EV and plugging in? And then when people like Justin come in with our short little cables that are designed for Tesla, by Tesla for a Tesla station, don't reach properly to their vehicles. So now they take two spots, or the opposite spot, I should say.
Yeah, so fortunately, the charging cable will reach on my car, but because Hyundai installs the charge ports on the rear passenger side, that's why I'm going to have to take up two spots. The charging cable reaches. Yeah, if my charge port was on the rear driver's side, it'd be just like what you Tesla drivers do.
Yeah.
But when it comes to vehicles like the F-150 Lightning, and I believe the Porsche Taycan, the cable doesn't even reach at all. So that's a problem. So the V4 superchargers, yeah, they're going to bring longer cables. You're going to need that for the Cybertruck and Tesla Semi and whatnot. But they're also going to fix a problem that I saw Ed in the chat mentioning. So if you can find that comment, Ed was mentioning that my Ioniq 5 is going to be a pain in the butt to you Tesla drivers for a different reason we haven't talked about yet. And that is I'm going to be bricked at a lower charge rate simply because what the Tesla supercharger can output and what my car can receive, they don't quite match up. I'm not an electrician. I've tried to wrap my head around this. Somehow it turns out I'm just not capable of wrapping my head around the electronics of how an EV's battery recharges. But think of it like this. You've got to have two nozzles that can match up in order to get the water hoses flowing, right? And if the nozzles don't match up, things just aren't going to work properly. That's basically what's going on here. So I'm capped at 100 kilowatt hour speed. That is nothing that's going to ruin my day. 100 kilowatts is not that bad, but it ain't 250, which is what these superchargers are capable of. So I thought I could be in and out of a supercharger in 20 minutes. It looks like it'd be more like 30 minutes, even in my fancy Ioniq 5, which is known for having some of the fastest charging speeds. If you talk about other EVs, like even the Lucid Air, which costs twice as much as the Ioniq 5 from Hyundai, the Rivian, and several others, charging speeds at a supercharger are capped at like 50 to 75 kilowatts. That's a bigger issue that I had not thought about until we started having these reviews coming out in the past few days from those who live in New York or California, testing their non-Teslas at the supercharger network. Holy crap, that's a bigger issue right there. And I think that is going to get Tesla to delay how quickly it rolls out supercharger access to non-Tesla drivers. They don't want to be clogging the chargers, not only with the whole like short cable issue, they don't want to be clogging the chargers with slow charging EVs, even $150,000 Lucid Airs. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, go ahead, Ray.
Well, you mentioned something earlier that I need you to be able to quantify it in dollars and cents. You mentioned that depending upon how busy a charging station is, the rates vary, so that it could be as low as 18 cents per kilowatt hour in a charging station where nobody's busy charging cars and they want to get people to go over there, up to 42 cents per kilowatt hour. So if let's say you went in and your car was at 20% charge, and you went into one that was at 42 cents per kilowatt hour, and you wanted to charge it up to 100% or close to 100%, what does that actually equate to in dollars and cents for that charge?
Justin, do you want to take that? You're the math guy.
I have some rudimentary math that I can share. So here's where we should start to address that question. Depending on where you live in the United States, residential electricity rates are anywhere from like the cheapest, I think, is roughly 11 cents per kilowatt hour to, in California, it depends on where you're at in California and whether or not you have solar panels, etc. It can be upwards of like 40 cents a kilowatt hour in some of the most expensive places. So if you're charging at home in West Virginia, like I do, where my electricity costs about 15 cents per kilowatt hour.
Forget that for 1 second.
Well, it's going to lead into what you're talking about.
No, here's the reason I want to forget it. Let's say you're doing a trip. You're not charging at home. You're doing a trip. I know.
I was going to compare.
I just want to know what these damn things cost dollars and cents wise when you're on the road. You know, like when Zach and I drove from Silver Spring to Las Vegas. What does it cost? Well, I mean, if you're paying 40 cents a kilowatt hour, what's it going to, when you go to charge,
right?
What's that equate to in the dollars and cents? And then what's the range that you get out of that?
Ray, give me an answer to one question I have, and then I've got your answer. Okay. Give me a state of charge. Let's say you're pulling into a charger in DC. What's your state of charge? 20%?
20%. You've got 20% left.
my Ioniq 5 has a battery capacity of 77 kilowatt hours. Let's say I need to fill it up. So I'm going to do that times 80%. All right, 61 kilowatt hours of electricity at 40 cents per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
So to go from 20% to 100% at a supercharger or any other charger that costs 40 cents per kilowatt hour is $24.
Okay. And that buys you how much range?
In my car, okay, so 250 miles of range,
Yes.
80% of that, 200 miles. So $24 for 200 miles of driving.
And if you were to drive an ICE car that got 40 miles to the gallon, and you have a say a 20-gallon tank, and you go in and you've got a quarter of a tank, and you go in and you fill it up, so you're getting 15 gallons, and you're paying $4 a gallon for gas. So what's 4 times 15? 60. So it's $60 as opposed to $24, but 20 gallons gets you 800 miles of range.
So that's great if you've got a car that gets 40 miles per gallon, like a hybrid. We recommend hybrids to people all the time if they're in that situation. But you've also got to consider that 80 to 90% of the time you're charging at a way lower price per kilowatt hour, either at home or for free at work or for free at a city parking lot like I did recently. So yes, when you're traveling, that math is exactly how it works out, and it can get iffy. If you're buying an EV to save money on fuel, don't rely on public fast charging all the time because you're not going to save on fuel.
Hey,
What do you
I want to
say
share. I want to share one bit of good news with the both of you. It turns out that a shopping center less than a mile from my condo was recently sold, and they're going to be doing major improvements to the shopping center, including, are you ready for this? Adding 3 electric vehicle charging stations. So if I were to ever get an EV, I would have to drive less than a mile to go be able to charge it. Isn't that exciting news?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, because you would only have to travel 3 miles, but hell would have been frozen over by that point, and I believe brimstone would be falling from the sky before you got the EV. So I'm not sure that it would be that much of a savings or a positive effect for you.
Well, I just think it's a positive in that, one of my big complaints has been I live in a condo. We don't have any charging stations at the condo, and there's really no place close by to go charge the car. So what would I do? Well, knowing that the major shopping, well, it's not really a major, but it's the only shopping center, and it actually has a food store there. They're going to add charging stations, so that for a person like me is good news. Now, whether or not that would sway me to buy a EV sooner rather than later, perhaps. I don't know.
Well, I've got to be honest. Over the past year that I've been giving one-to-one advice and consulting with consumers who are thinking about going electric, I am not ashamed to say that there are plenty of times where I say perhaps an EV isn't right for your driving situation right now in 2022 or 2023.
Absolutely.
It's not for everyone yet. That's unfortunate, but it's literally because of what you're mentioning, Ray. It's the lack of charging infrastructure that it looks like it will get a hell of a lot better by 2025. But, that's a few years away. So, yeah. I agree with what you're saying here, Ray. I crunched one more pair of numbers that I want to share with everyone, and then we'll move on to what's next. So charging at home or wherever you're at for 15 cents a kilowatt hour, which is just a little bit below the national average electric utility rate for residential. Charging my Ioniq 5 from zero, which never happens, from zero to full costs $12.
Okay.
Charging at Electrify America at 36 cents per kilowatt hour is $28. So there you go. It's just a simple, straightforward example of how much cheaper it is to charge at residential rates versus paying some fancy company that is secretly owned by Volkswagen, Electrify America, for your electricity.
Now,
But,
I mean, in fairness to Electrify America and Volkswagen, Tesla owns all the Tesla Superchargers too.
yeah, but they
So-
work.
Yeah,
And-
but they work. But I mean, an OEM owning them, as long as they're putting in the investment, that's not a bad thing, right?
No, you're right. Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't VW own Electrify America because of their Dieselgate scandal? That
Yeah.
some of the funds that they had to pay, some of the fines that they had to pay, had to go towards charging stations.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So if they didn't try to cheat, we would have less public charging stations today. We should be thankful they were cheaters and they got caught.
It's the way the world works, Ray. Yep. I'm learning that slowly but surely.
yeah. So Learning Fast here says they have 11 cents per kilowatt charging in North Carolina. Obviously, that gets a lot cheaper. I mean, you have to be talking to the 40 cents a kilowatt hour range to get into where you're looking at doing the same as gas, basically. Less than that, I think I just had it up here. 22 cents kilowatt hour is what I'm doing because I pick and choose where I charge, and I can't charge at home at the moment. I've spent $80 in the last month for my charging, all said and done. Saved $200 versus gas in my area. According to the app, I don't know how they're figuring out the gas prices in my area, so I don't know what that is. I know we're almost at $5, or actually, most stations are over $5 again.
Wow, we're at $3 even where I'm at.
Oh, no. Good for you.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say something to our viewers in North Carolina, and then I've got some ammo for Ray. I'm just going to pass you the ammunition for anti-EV sentiment, Ray.
Or this is supposed to be the day of the week where it's 2 against 1 and it's against Ray.
Just give me a second. All right. So first of all, last year in North Carolina, some North Carolina state legislatures proposed a new bill that would ban free EV charging. So even if a private business wants to offer free EV charging, this bill says, nope, you can't, unless on every receipt to all of your customers, you quantify and provide the number to how much money that customer is subsidizing the EV customers. It's wild. So it hasn't gone anywhere yet, but that's just the kind of weird situations we're going to be getting into. I'd love to see you guys debate that next week. But
I would love to talk to these people who are proposing that, because I'm almost positive that they are people who are jumping up and down and saying free marketplace, capitalism, where it all needs to be free and we shouldn't be doing subsidies for anything. Government should be doing this, and then telling private business, no, you can't give this away for free.
Yep, it's literally that kind of situation.
Yep. So it seems to be normal politician. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, speaking out of both sides of your mouth on that one.
Well, you can't be a politician unless you've perfected the ability to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Justise, do you remember when I was pretty excited about a month or two ago when I shared with you, I believe privately on our work communications, that the first non-Tesla charger, fast charger in West Virginia had opened?
Yeah,
I was thrilled. I haven't got a chance to use it yet because I don't drive in that direction very often, but super thrilled. Well, I found out what the cost is. So we just mentioned Electrify America is about 36 cents per kilowatt hour. The new Tesla Superchargers opening up to the rest of us in New York, for instance, are about 49.50 cents per kilowatt hour. This station in Charleston, West Virginia, is the most expensive EV charger I've ever heard of anywhere in the United States, period. And let me know if you can beat it. 89 cents per kilowatt hour. It is at a Hyundai dealership. It's at a Hyundai dealership. I'm glad it's there because it means if I want to drive through the middle of nowhere towards Ohio, I could easily charge at that fast charger. But that means to charge an Ioniq 5 from empty to full, which doesn't happen often, but let's say I needed to go all the way to 100%, it would be $68.
Man,
That's a bunch of
can I
baloney.
say something? That sounds like a ripoff.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're a car dealer or something with those kind of
Yep.
prices.
They are a
That's
car dealer.
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, why would you? I mean, that you literally have to be in a desperate situation to go there, and so they're capitalizing on that. That's
So
insane.
let me ask you a silly question if I can, and so this dealer, this Hyundai dealership has this supercharger, and if you go there, it's 89 cents. Now, what do you think it costs that Hyundai dealer to install a supercharger like that? What would the cost be approximately?
I've looked into the precise charge point DC fast chargers that they purchased, and they're about $50,000.
How the hell are they ever going to make their money back if their rate is so high nobody's going to go there to charge?
Oh, I have the answer to that. It's because it's in freaking West Virginia where there are no other non-Tesla DC fast chargers. And at least for the next 6 months to a year, a lot of people are flocking there when they're driving through the state in their F-150 Lightnings, even their Rivians. Imagine a $120,000 Rivian R1S pulling up to this Hyundai dealership and forking over. They've got a bigger battery than I do. About $100 to charge. That's the situation we're in right now. Yeah. So why do I have an EV in West Virginia? I don't know, Ray, but I don't regret it. It's a beautiful vehicle. It's a beautiful vehicle.
I know why you have an EV in West Virginia, because you can charge it at home.
Yeah, that is why, actually. I would not have one if I could not charge at home. Guaranteed. But yeah.
Wow, that's
And I get in a lucky place because in California, especially with my Tesla, like I can charge anywhere all the time, and I do get to choose. I have so many around me. I get to choose the lowest priced one I can go to, and every once in a while, I'm just like I'm tired, and I want to go to this one because it's closest to my house, and there's an In-N-Out burger across the street, so I'll charge and go grab some In-N-Out because that's the joy of living in California on both.
So at these fast chargers, like if I had an EV and I was driving through Charleston, West Virginia, and I wanted to avail myself of that Hyundai dealership, and let's say I pull in with a 20% charge and I want to get it up to 100, and I know I'm going to overpay, but how long is that going to take approximately?
That charger is capable of up to 125 kilowatts. So probably, depending on the EV that you're driving, that's what really matters here. Give me an EV, Ray. What would you drive?
An electric Mini Cooper, right? I mean, come on.
No. I would once. Well, I don't know. Probably a Tesla.
Okay, well then you wouldn't be in the situation in the
Okay,
first
so
place.
I'm just gonna say we win. We're gonna end the show. We're never coming back.
Let me change that just so that we have a reason to stop at this dealership. So it wouldn't be a Tesla. I don't know. Is a Polestar.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
How
a
about
good choice. I like the Polestar.
That's a good example. Polestars don't have the best of charging curves. That means once you're getting from like 70 to 100% battery capacity, it actually slows down quite a bit. So I would say that would be about 30 to 40 minutes.
Man, that just seems like a lot of time. And other than I don't know, looking at a Hyundai electric vehicle while I'm waiting for my Polestar to charge, do they have a cafe at this Hyundai dealership? Is there something?
They've got a lobby.
Are these available 24/7? I mean, okay, so
yeah,
the dealership doesn't have to be open for you to be able to do this.
That is correct. If it's not open, then good luck finding a restroom. But this is a trend that we're going to start seeing more and more of. I don't know about the 89 cents per kilowatt hour becoming a trend. I sure hope not. But especially in rural America, you're going to see a lot of the non-Tesla public fast charging options at dealerships. Less than a mile from where I live, there's a Chevy GM dealership that is already pending the installation of their fast charger. So this is going to be one of the ways that fast chargers open up in rural America. Hopefully pricing does not get taken advantage of like we've seen here. But then again, by the end of 2024, we said 3,500 Tesla Superchargers will be open to everyone. And I suspect that quite a few of those will be in rural America, areas that are underserved by Electrify America, ChargePoint, Blink, etc. Yeah, full circle. Here we are.
So would it make sense for when like dealerships, automobile dealerships close, for a restaurant chain of some kind to come in, take over that facility, because you have all this parking, typically dealerships have a decent sized lot, install a bunch of chargers throughout the property and open up a restaurant inside so that people can eat and gas or fuel or what? No, apparently not. Okay.
No,
that's never going to happen, Ray. And one word answer: competition. Why would you do that if the supercharger network is fully open in, say, 2025? Electrify America figures out how to not break a recharger, and Electrify America is working beautifully. And those locations are already typically next to amenities.
Okay.
So, and I think part of this too, Ray, is you're hypothetically talking about the worst case scenario, not the average scenario. I, on average, charge 10 to 12 minutes. That's how long it takes me to charge on average. You're almost never charging from 0 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're never at 0, and you almost never go to 100. So even me, who isn't charging at home anymore, and I'm using Supercharger network, I'm there. I would say 15 minutes is the max time I'm ever really there in a charging space, unless I'm shopping at the same time and I plug in and I'm charging longer just because I'm in the store longer doing whatever I'm doing.
Okay, tag me in, Justice. I got to say something too.
But if you're there for 15 minutes, how much of a charge does that give you? How much range does it add to your vehicle?
So I'm going to continue what Justice is saying here to address that question, Ray. If you're going to use this Charleston, West Virginia charger, there are plenty of other fast chargers that are way more affordable in Ohio. And there are affordable, normal Electrify Americas down in Virginia. Charleston, West Virginia is in between those two locations that are full of chargers. So you only need enough electricity to get from Ohio to Virginia when you're driving across my state. Okay. You're going to be sitting there for probably 15 to 20 minutes to get enough electricity to continue your journey.
So you can go charge your car somewhere else for less money.
For way less. Yeah, like half the price. Okay. Literally half the price.
Okay. It's beginning to, it's all beginning. All the pieces are starting to assemble themselves within the confines of my rather limited brain.
But to really...
Go ahead, Justin. You go ahead, Justin.
To really just hit on the point of how quickly things are changing. So in Charleston, West Virginia alone, and within a 50-mile radius of Charleston, there are currently like 6 other non-Tesla fast chargers planned for construction within the next 1 year.
Okay.
So like that's how quickly the situation is going to change. That Hyundai dealership's taking advantage of it for the meantime.
Gotcha.
And I think we get bogged down a lot in talking about these things, and we do go with this worst case scenario. How long does it take to fully charge your vehicle at this dealership and so we tend to end up in this conversation where we're talking about polar opposites of one side, is talking the worst case scenario, and the other side's why plug in every single day at home so I never have to do that. Well, but sometimes you are going to go on a road trip. So, so we end up talking either I plug in at home, so what you're talking about doesn't make any sense, or Well, you always have to fill up every single time, and it's a combination of the things and your lifestyle and what you do. Ray, you shared a great story with me about someone going from LA to Sacramento, trying to find the charging stations in their non-Tesla. There are stops, by the way, that they hit are all the stops I go to when I go the opposite direction. Harris Ranch being a big one out here, having all the chargers, but of course, it's the big one. So everybody's always there, and it's always full, except for the Tesla stalls, because they charge very quickly. So, if I plan my route to LA in my current vehicle, I have to stop 3 times on my way to LA. It's a 7-minute stop, a 12-minute stop, and an 8-minute stop.
So 27 minutes total.
Yeah, and I get to LA with a 15% charge still, because that's where I set my trip, and that's where my comfort level is. Because traffic jams happen and backups happen, and you have to wait at some charging stations. So I say, hey, look, I want to arrive with 15% charge, just in case something happens and I'm not stuck out there. So 27 total minutes, 3 stops, and let me tell you, it's a 6.5. Okay, if you're driving the speed limit, it's a 7-hour drive to get there if you're going the speed limit. So stopping, 10 minutes, 3 times, that's not I want to stretch anyway.
Yes.
I want to, get out. I want to grab a snack. I want to grab some water. I want to use the restroom. All that is fine for me. So, for me, when you talk about this, if I wanted to charge at 100% and each one of those, first off, would be ridiculous.
Okay.
But yeah, it would take a long time, because that 80 to 100 takes as long as that 10 to 80.
And I've measured that. That is factually correct in the Ioniq 5.
Yeah,
it takes 20 minutes to go from 20 to 80%, 20 minutes to go from 80 to 100%.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Battery chemistry, topping off the battery, it's all programmed into the battery control unit to make sure that electricity is safely added to that top of the pack. It's all for safety.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And for those of us who like regen braking, unlike some of us in the chat here, Mario, who don't.
I love regen braking.
I love regen braking. And if you charge to 100%, you don't get regen braking.
Gotcha.
Because there's nothing to regenerate to. Thus, you are actually hurting the efficiency of your vehicle, because you can't recapture. You're not recapturing when you're slowing down.
Gotcha.
So even on a road trip, I would still never go to 100%, because I would literally be hurting the efficiency of my vehicle. So I'd probably charge to 90% before I left home, so I still have some regen to take along the way and get some of that back. Certainly once I go over the grapevine, if it's not in 5 feet of snow like it was last week, which is weird, going into LA, I wouldn't, because yes, there's a giant incline, but then it's so much downhill after that, and there's so much regen that I could be taking, that if I was anywhere near 100%, I'd just be throwing energy out the window. So you're never really charging to 100%, and it doesn't really take all that much time on a lot of these vehicles. So I think that's part of it. And I know, Justin, you got to run. You're very busy today. So
well,
I'll get your... No, yeah. I was going to get your final words before we...
Wonderful. Thank you, Justise, because I do have some final words for you all. Charging an EV will not be as quick as fueling up a gas tank in the 2020s. Perhaps beyond that. It's been proven in the lab. It's not in production yet. So it's just not going to happen in the 2020s. But where I see people caring a lot less about that fact is when they personally hands-on test drive an electric vehicle. Even if it's a Chevy Bolt, but usually it's a Tesla or an Ioniq 5, right? When someone gets their hands behind the wheel of an electric vehicle and takes it for a drive, pretty quickly, in most cases, they start to see how revolutionary that experience is and how it completely changes what it's like to drive a vehicle. It's wonderful. And then you start to think a whole lot less about how you're going to be spending time only on road trips, uh, sitting at chargers, because there are some sacrifices, but in almost every case, EV ownership is well worth those sacrifices.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. And there's very few that go electric and then go back, but there are some, and we have one on our team that I'm going to try to get on the show to find out
Nice.
why they went back. Um, and that's a big thing, I think. And that, battery technology is changing. I have the photo. I didn't pull it up though. On the Tesla Investor Day, the other day, day before yesterday, there was a picture behind one of the ladies who was speaking about it, and she didn't speak to the picture at all, but it sure looked like it showed a Tesla sitting over a wireless charging mat.
That'd be nice.
So I think that's in the works. That's being tested. I think they just heard Ray the other day on the show and then said, yeah, let's do that. That's a great idea. So there are lots of technologies changing. Wirelessly, probably away from your home, is just ridiculously too inefficient. But at your home, just being able to pull up over the mat seems like that would be a great idea.
Battery swapping doesn't seem to be getting anywhere.
No, it doesn't. Like battery swapping doesn't. They had it, but I mean, part of that too is how fast is that versus charging? It seems like it would be kind of difficult and time consuming. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but the battery chemistry in your Ioniq 5, Justin, is nothing like the battery chemistry in my Model 3. So how would you even handle that? Like, do you have to have all the different kinds of battery? Like that doesn't seem. And, I know a lot of people think about, well, what happens when the battery breaks? What happens if the battery dies? First off, they're warranted. Most of them are 150,000 miles. So, same thing that happens if your engine dies, right? At 150,000 miles. But really, the battery's just, it's not that kind of scenario much. Let me answer a couple of these quick questions before we go to your final thoughts, Ray, and let everybody go. Is there a better, faster time of the day, a week that's more desirable to charge? I would say yes, at night at home is your best time to charge when the peak rates are the lowest. As far as superchargers go, like I said, in a Tesla, you just pull up the map on the screen. It'll tell you what the rates are at each station right now. So you can go to the one that has the lowest rate. It just depends on how many people are charging there at the moment. Let's see. Jordan says rented places won't let you charge. That's not true. My landlord installed them. I need him to install again more because my spot got taken by somebody else when I went back out of an EV for a little bit. Justin, maybe you can answer this one. I think I know what the answer here is, but what have rest stops been doing? Why aren't there a lot of superchargers at rest stops along the way?
So the federal funding that has just been unlocked from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, or whatever it's called, I forget. A lot of that is going to be going straight to installing superchargers, maybe superchargers, but whoever the lowest bidder is at public rest stops. So I know that is happening in West Virginia.
Yeah, and that's the way the government works. The lowest bidder wins. So, yikes for the rest of us on that. But I have been explained a little bit that the power at rest stops, you don't get a lot of the power that you need for a supercharger there right now. And I always get stuck in California mode and go, well, yeah, but you have solar. And then I get out and, remember that not everywhere is here. So I think there may be a issue of getting enough power to get enough chargers there. So the infrastructure has to change even more, not just installing the chargers, but getting enough power out to those rest stops there. To William, use your grocery store points and you can get gas for under $2 a gallon. Not in California, buddy. Nowhere here. But in some great states maybe, but not here. And then my last comment I'm going to pull up from Mark. You're right. When I got my first Model 3 from Tesla, they did a walkthrough that I understand they don't do anymore. And there's a big portion of this of you almost have to go to YouTube and start looking up videos to learn about your vehicle. And you don't know a lot of stuff. It's very unfortunate that situation is there. I think OEMs need to do a better job of educating people. We're not in a world where it's just the same car your grandparents have been driving for 40 years. So just, your family's going to teach you. No, we're in a situation now where it's a new technology and people need to be educated on all this stuff, on how to do it and, the do's and don'ts. And I do indeed read all my vehicle manuals, but not everybody does. And that's going to be a big issue. So Ray, final thoughts for the day?
We've been doing this is this like the second week or the third week?
Yeah, this is our 9th episode. So third week.
It's the third week. I can't believe how much I've learned in 3 weeks, how much you and Justin and everyone else we've had on here have actually opened my eyes to have a much clearer and better understanding of EVs and what the future might hold for them. I don't know that I'm what you would call a convert yet, but I gotta believe, just from having done 9 shows, I'm getting closer. So maybe by the 12th show, I'll be a raving fan of EVs. Seriously, doubt it. But you never know. I mean, I got excited when I found out there was going to be 3 public chargers at that shopping center near me. So
great.
Who knows? Yeah.
All we want to hear from you, Ray, is that Elon is the greatest guy to ever live. And then we can end the show and be done.
Oh, well, we're going to be on for a very long time.
We'll have to have a discussion. Elon Musk or Jim Farley? No, probably not, folks.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much for being here again, Justin. We will be back on Tuesday on our new day. So we're going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Fridays from now on. Because I will be taking Mondays off so I can be here on the weekend for all of our members who need help with their car purchases.
Bless you for that.
So that's my pleasure. I know we got a lot of deals come through on Saturday and people of the dealership, and I really want to be here and make sure that they get the help that they need and deserve. So thank you everyone for being here, and we will see you on Tuesday.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, Ray. Bye, Justin.